Yeah, hi. So I'm filming this right after my SmackDown review. So a lot of people are on what I'm seeing on Facebook, YWC, IWC related, basically on in the internet wrestling world. A lot of people, are even though I guess people are I don't know, just like in reality. You're getting the smart start complaining that oh, we're getting Lesnar and Reigns again, you know. I understand, and like oh, but why is Lesnar back or whatever, or just like I don't know. While I do understand the problem and why people are complaining somewhat about Lesnar and Reigns, at the same time, I question your sanity because people are complaining that we're seeing Lesnar versus Reigns too much, even though in reality, if you look at when Lesnar and Reigns, they only faced like a handful of times. They faced each other at WrestleMania 31, first time, right? WrestleMania 31. Then WrestleMania 34 was their second match, actually, or their second legit match they had. But if you really think about it, their first match at WrestleMania became a triple threat, so it was really their, even though it counts still as their first match, but it then turned to a triple threat, right? Then WrestleMania 34, which was their first match, which fully. Then then the what was it, the Saudi show. Then SummerSlam. SummerSlam 2018, Crown Jewel, then WrestleMania. So about 6 times. This is going to be their 7th match that's going to happen at SummerSlam. So it's just been announced that at SummerSlam, it's going to be Reigns and Lesnar. But it's going to be a different match this time. It's going to be a last man standing match, which, while it's maybe sure another rematch, at least like it or not, it's going to be a different match. So I don't understand how people are going to complain. If anything, I do believe this match will be way better than the WrestleMania match. Well, I didn't mind their match at WrestleMania 38. I do think it was a bit disappointing how it ended. If anything, again, I've said this many times. I was an advocate of the idea that Lesnar versus Reigns should have been turned to a no disqualification match. Like, I don't understand why the fuck the match wasn't no disqualifications. I don't know why. It had the crowd behind it, the match. But, like, I definitely will say, like, wow. Like, why wasn't the match, like, no disqualifications? Like, they kept saying how, they're out for blood and whatever. Lesnar was out for blood and all that kind of stuff. Why wasn't the match? Maybe, in this match we'll see some blood, Because it's a last man standing match and they had that kind of approval that they could probably bleed in their matches. So, who knows? In this last man standing match, yeah. Again, if I was booking this thing, like, after WrestleMania, or first of all, WrestleMania should have been no disqualifications. But then, if you wanted, like, if this feud was to continue, since, again, like, and people are complaining that, oh, why is this match happening again? I mean, to be fair, you have to understand that it makes sense because Lesnar, he's getting his rematch clause, right? Plus, like, because, like, what, he just lost the title, he's getting his rematch clause, that kind of thing. And, like or not, there is still a story behind this, like or not, because of the whole Paul Heyman stuff, Roman Reigns thing, there's still a story in this, So it's really, even though, like, I did not like how the match ended at WrestleMania, at least there's still a story, and maybe they'll be build off it more. And it'll, like or not, even though people are complaining, you have to admit this is still gonna be something worth watching. It's gonna be exciting. Besides the smarks complaining, which I do understand the complaints, At least like it or not, like, there's still a story, and like it or not with Lesnar, like, who fucking comes out as a fucking badass, like, fucking still fucking cool. Farmer fucking Cowboy Brock coming out. Still fucking cool as ever. It's still fucking that Stone Cold effect. He's still fucking awesome. Just coming out on SmackDown and F5ing Lesnar, fucking Reigns and Uso. It's still fucking cool and badass. And it's gonna be a different match. It's gonna be a better match than I think. A lot of people are complaining because it's the same shit. But reality is, like, all these people who complain, like, you guys fucking chant "Fight Forever" whenever you see matches like Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, and they happen multiple times. Matches like the Young Bucks and fucking all these other guys that they faced before. Was it the freaking Lucha Brothers or whatever? You guys, let's be honest here. All these people complain about Lesnar and Reigns. Do you not understand that you guys chant like? You see like the same matches in like AEW, and then you fucking say, you know, there's those matches. Like, for example, like or not, like, even though there'll be different types, you understand that every match in AEW is literally the same shit, kicks and flips, and fucking no characters, no stories, and they're just matches that go on for like more than 10 minutes with no story, and then we pretend that they're good matches because they're like long, and they're like just fucking, I don't know, they're just doing fucking stupid bullshit. Like, same, for example, also, with Daniel Bryan versus fucking Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega. They're literally no different. They're, like, the same fucking matches. But let's pretend they're different because it's different wrestlers. But, yeah, they're doing the same type of matches. You know, they're, like, fucking hour-long draws and whatever. They're the same type of match. Like, no story, no characters. But, like, you know, same fucking type of wrestlers, same type of... Like, there's no, like, unique character. It's like there's no different wrestlers. They're, like, the same types of wrestlers. And they're having the same type of match. Same thing with all these wrestlers that wrestle, like, an AEW Dark or Rampage or Dynamite. That you'll just have a random match with no story. It's like they're no different matches. They're the same fucking shit. And then we're going to complain about Lesnar versus Brock because it happened, like, only, like, about, like, 6 times. You know what I mean? Like... Did you guys forget freaking guys like Rock and Austin? Like, at least, like when they happen multiple times throughout the year? Same thing with fucking Austin versus Taker. Austin versus Triple H. Triple H versus The Rock. You know? What's the problem with this? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, they should have paced this better. But, like, fuck. I mean... And yeah, sure, WWE's fault for not having enough stars, but hey, what can you really do? And like or not, this is a match that's so draw. It's kind of like that kind of, like that hit, like that kind of franchise movies when there's like a bunch of when there's a franchise that kind of makes the same amount of movies, but they still make the same amount of money. That's kind of cliche type of deal. It's still gonna make money regardless because it's Lesnar versus Reigns, and at least this is gonna be a different match. And like or not. There's still a good story behind this, even while people complain. You got people, apparently people are saying, you know, oh, but there's other options, guys, even though, you know, how dare people, like, what about Reigns versus Styles? Really? Reigns versus Styles? We already seen that in 2016. And why would it work now? Styles is a boring baby face. And he's like, he doesn't really have much momentum. The guy's already lost. Like, what makes him a world champ contender when the guy's been losing lately? And it's not like a main eventer. Let's be honest here. He's really not a main eventer. Okay? Even you got people say Bobby Lashley. I thought you guys don't like Bobby Lashley. Here's how I would have done it. First of all, like, and I said this in my SmackDown review. Freaking, you know, I do think that they should, like, if they were going to have, like, still do this whole Lesnar-Reigns thing, they should have done something where it leaked to Reigns, like taking a break. Or hell, I would have loved if they kept Lesnar still on TV. They did have this guy advertised for Money in the Bank and WrestleMania Backlash, but for some reason, you know, they didn't have him on TV for some reason. In my honest opinion, they could have should have done something like maybe like a triple threat with Rollins at WrestleMania Backlash. You know, kind of like a rekindle of the WrestleMania match, which they could do in the future. Maybe something like, maybe Lesnar, like maybe like Reigns versus Lashley, you know, should have happened at Backlash instead, or something, you know, something, whatever. The reason why I say Rollins because like what happened at the Royal Rumble, you know, Rollins won by disqualification, that would make more sense, and then eventually, you know, Lesnar wants Reigns one-on-one. And then maybe that match should have happened inside Hell in a Cell. I do think they should end their feud inside the Cell. That's what I was kind of hoping. You know what? If they're going to do a match at SummerSlam, maybe the match should be inside Hell in a Cell. But it's already announced Last Man Standing. And they just did a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. So, which is a problem, which I think that's why they should not even do a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. But if anything, if you wanted a match for Hell in a Cell, that could have been the show. You know? That could have been the match. And if you're going to continue the feud. I don't mind the idea of Last Man Standing, but if you want to change it, I do think they should have changed it up after what happened, and maybe they could have continued Reigns versus Lesnar in another pay-per-view if they wanted. But I don't mind it at SummerSlam. Maybe they'll end the feud at that pay-per-view, and it'll just be the last man standing match. Maybe that'll be the end. After all, Lesnar's getting his rematch, so it makes sense, while you like it or not. Like, I would have been in favor of maybe, like, they do a triple threat with Lashley involved. Heck, even Cena to tie in what happened last year. You know, when Cena versus Reigns, but then Lesnar returned right after the show. And he attacked even freaking, Cena after the show. Maybe tie in something like that. Or, heck, even a fatal four-way involving them. Because originally the rumor was supposed to be Reigns versus Orton, but he's out. But, like, whatever, I would not mind that as like a fatal four-way match or whatever. Maybe that would be way big for a SummerSlam match. But hey, I mean, maybe now that gives Lashley to do something else and Cena to do something else, But again, like still, Lesnar and Reigns is going to be a big match. And it's going to be a last man standing. At least it's a different match, so you got to give something there. I know, I do get why people complain, but like, come on here, like, I'm sorry, that's like, you guys complain about this, but like there's like other like matches that need to like happen multiple times, and not just that. Like, if you really think about it, all these matches that happen in AEW are the same fucking shit, or even like other promotions, but like they're like the same type of matches, even though like different types of people. Even though but the reality, they look the same, they all act the same, like, oh, I'm the best wrestler in the world, I'm here to fight or whatever, but they have no character. It's like, let's say, like, Darby Allin versus Kyle O'Reilly, then fucking Darby Allin versus Bobby Fish, like, they're, like, it's like the same type of, like, just because, they're facing different people, they're facing the same type of wrestlers, same fucking style and shit like that, And I get it, same move with Lesnar and Reigns, but at least they make it work because they actually fucking have, star power and shit like that. Like, what do you think fucking matches were back in the day? Like, fuck. And at least it's a last man standing match. Like, it's going to be exciting. It's actually a good thing to be a better match. They're going to use weapons. It's going to be hardcore. What more can you ask? At least it's something. So I don't really understand like why people complain, because I think it's like people like you have to understand you have to look at this like it's also business wise, and also like, I get it, but like at least it still will make money, and at least it's going to be something to look forward to, like it or not. And fucking like it or not, Lesnar coming out and towards the end of the show was exciting. It was his hometown. It was exciting. Okay, freaking yeah. Last man standing, coming out in his hometown and shit like that, and just fine. Guess what? It's gonna fucking get some viewership. It's gonna get good viewership, like it or not. It's gonna get lots of views on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that people fucking who are watching were so happy. If you saw the crowd was happy. How is that a problem? I don't know what to tell you. I just think like obviously people smarks would complain regardless. It is what it is. Like, I get why people complain. I get what people are but it's just like, I do think a lot of this complaining is like, I think people would have complained as much if the match was better at WrestleMania. Like, if the match wasn't because again, you have to admit though, maybe the match would have been different if freaking, Reigns, because apparently it was rumored that Reigns, like, he had a injury scare. But apparently that was affecting. But then it turns out he's like gotten better because he had to take that break. But like, I will definitely say like if the match was from the start a different match, was in no qualifications, and you did the match better, maybe it would have made people less scared and less angry. I do think that definitely how the end match did not help. Maybe people been more open to a rematch and a match like this last man standing. I definitely think like once this match happens, this last man standing match happens, maybe it'll be a different fucking reaction now. Maybe because people would admit, okay, this match is very good. But I have a feeling still, because smarks are smarks, they're gonna complain regardless because apparently they hate Lesnar because Lesnar's a part timer, 2 moves of doom, blah blah blah. Even though the fucking guy is like a draw, like he's more a draw than your fucking AJ Styles, than your Kevin Owens. Yeah, you got even people saying they didn't want Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, which I believe Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns happened more than Lesnar versus fucking Reigns. What the fuck fucking Kevin Owens is also a heel. How does that make any sense? All these suggestions make no sense, by the way, for what people want rather see. Like, do I agree that WWE should have more stars? But like, what can you really do? Okay. Like it or not, at least Lesnar's still the hot take of the show. He's still the hot fucking commodity on the show nowadays, like it or not. You know, it's like fucking what can you complain about? And plus it's that franchise effect. It's kind of that like movie effect where, you know, a franchise doing good, they're gonna fuck it. We're gonna put out more money till can't make money no more. Like look at the Fast and Furious movies. Like seriously, it's like that example. They keep making money, you know. Same thing with fucking Marvel movies. They keep making money. It's that kind of shit. You know what I mean? If it makes money, it makes money. Do I think this rivalry should end? Maybe in the future. Definitely inside Hell in a Cell. But it's like, as long as it's like, you know, it gotta be done better. But I don't mind this match happening again. Because again, you have that excuse where Lesnar, you know, somewhat owed a rematch clause since WrestleMania. And there you go, you know. So but yeah, that's what I have to say, people. That's just a little bit my thoughts and like my take of the complaining of Lesnar versus Reigns. But really, the only people who are really complaining about are just smarky fans. So yeah, that's what I say, people. Till next time. Yeah, bye.